Finally, the Gundam video. So this has actually been my third attempt at filming me putting together a Gunpla model. And I was finally able to get one filmed today. Finally. So today we're going to be putting together the RX-78-2 Gundam. As you've seen already, I've put together the more basic and simple one. But today we're going to be putting together this one, which is the more advanced and higher quality one. So I've known about these models for a pretty long time now. A good friend of mine is really into Gunpla stuff, and so he told me about it. And I've always been highly intrigued by it and been wanting to do it, but it wasn't until just recently that I finally took the plunge and started getting into Gundam. I've been watching the shows, and this is the third model I've put together, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I definitely plan to keep on doing this and building more models, but it's probably not going to become a staple of my channel. This is just something a little different that I wanted to do. It's just mostly going to be me rambling on about Gundam and other such topics, I guess. So as you can see, I am working on the body right now. You may have noticed that I don't have any professional hobby cutters. I've been using the scissors on my Swiss Army knife. And they worked really well for the first couple of models. But recently I did finally get some hobby cutters, and I'm going to be using that from now on. Related to that, I know that people are super serious about these Gunpla models. A lot of people like to do things like paint them, put damage on them, make them look super realistic. And those projects look absolutely amazing. But I'm still a beginner, so we're not going to be getting too in-depth on this. I'll point you to some other videos that talk more about the extra stuff that you can do with these models to make them look absolutely amazing. This is not a tutorial video or a review on this. I'm just doing this for fun. And if you're noticing here on the screen, I'm actually having a bit of trouble with this piece. This is probably the first and really only major hiccup I had along the way. Everything else was pretty easy. And that is the first part of the body completed. Up next, we're going to be putting the backpack on, and along with that, we're also going to be putting in the connections for the head and swords as well, or sword hilts, as I should probably say. This is actually one of the big reasons why I wanted to get this model in particular, because I really wanted to have the beam sabers that I could use on my model. So with my recent plunge into the Gunpla world, I've finally gotten around to watching some of the Gundam anime. I've known about them for a very long time and have been meaning to watch them, but Gundam has just always been one of those things to me, sort of like Cowboy Bebop, where once I heard about it, I knew that I would love it, but I just never really got around to watching it until long after I heard about it. But once I got into it, I could finally say that yes, I really like Gundam. So far, the shows I've watched have been the original Mobile Suit Gundam, which I have some thoughts on that I'm going to share in this video. I watched Gundam Zeta, which I really liked. I watched Mobile Suit Gundam Origin Advent of the Red Comet, which I really liked. It's very good. And right now I'm watching Gundam ZZ, which has been, oh boy. Alright, and now we are fully finished with the body. We're going to be moving on to the head, which was actually a bit challenging, just because it had some really tiny stickers that I had to put on some very small parts. But I did a pretty good job on it, I think. I used some tweezers to help put them on, so I think it turned out a-okay. Getting back into the show Mobile Suit Gundam, I said that I had some thoughts about the original, and I guess I'll share that now. I really liked what they were trying to do and say with Mobile Suit Gundam. I just don't think it was executed as well as it should have been, and I really didn't like a lot of the characters. You can tell that this show had a troubled production, and it's pretty unfortunate that the creator wasn't able to do as much as he wanted to do. But this still is a series that really changed the mech genre forever. And so I'm very thankful that he got a second shot at it. Right now, though, I'm actually reading the novel that he wrote shortly before the cancellation of the show, which really tells the story that he more accurately wanted to tell with the show. And I've liked the novel pretty well so far. I'm just at the end of the first book, though. And here's some more of those really tiny stickers on the head that I had a bit of trouble with, but I got it done and I think I did a pretty good job. With the head done, we can now move on to doing the right arm. Getting back into my discussion about the original Mobile Suit Gundam, I said that I really didn't like some of the characters, and I guess I should elaborate on that. Starting with Amuro, I think a lot of people give him shit in this early series, which I don't fully agree with because, he's supposed to be this young kid who's going through this traumatic thing, and it makes sense to me why he's like this because the whole rest of the crew is just, well, being assholes to him and very unappreciative, especially Captain Bright. I really did not like him in this series. Well, he does get a bit better later on. In fact, the whole cast and crew get much better after, I don't know, like episode 25 or so. The second half of the series I feel is much stronger than the first half. Ironically enough, though, I feel that the characters that were supposed to be like the assholes of the show, I ended up really liking, like Kai and Slegger. I also ended up liking the villains a lot more than I did the crew of the White Base. As a whole as well, I feel that the original Mobile Suit Gundam just has some very outdated themes, which I mean makes sense, it's a show from 1979. I can easily overlook that. But again, it's just the execution of some of those themes and ideas that really hold the show back for me. And like I said earlier, it does get pretty good in the second half, but the first half can be pretty unbearable at times. I also want to talk about the designs of the mechs in the original series. I like the design of the Gundam and the gun cannon, and the gun tank could be alright when it's being used as a tank, but when they used it in space, it just looked really dumb to me. And when it comes to the designs of the mechs from the Principality of Zeon, they range from either super cool looking or super dumb. I like the Zaku and the Golf, but things like the Gog looked super stupid. And of course, we could not forget the one, the only, Big Zam. Best mech in the show, best mech in the show, best mech in the show, best mech in the show. And this is just my random thoughts about the show. None of it should be taken that seriously. I haven't fully organized my thoughts about the show, and this is not an official review. With the right arm done, we can move over to the left arm, which is basically going to be the same thing almost. So with both the arms, we're just going to be using the basic hand grips. I think I'm going to have my model holding his beam saber and shield. So we're just going to need those two basic hand grips. Moving on from the original Mobile Suit Gundam, I actually watched Advent of the Red Comet after this, and let me tell you what, I cannot stress just how good Advent of the Red Comet was, especially after having seen the original Mobile Suit Gundam. And after that, I decided to watch the second Gundam series that was released, Zeta Gundam, and I really liked it. It was pretty good. It fixes a lot of mistakes, I believe, of the original Mobile Suit Gundam. Though there were still some of those really annoying characters like Cats. Oh my god, I hated Cats so much. But I think the other characters were pretty well written and done. It could be a bit too on the nose sometimes with its, how do I say this, its similarities to the original Mobile Suit Gundam. I kind of found it annoying when characters would say stuff like, oh, this is just like the white base, and stuff similar to that. Don't say it, you know? Just show it. Show that the audience has some brains and can draw the connections themselves. I also want to mention the character of Camille. I really like how they ended his story. Without any major spoilers, it is absolutely heartbreaking when you get down to really thinking about it. Overall, Gundam Zeta, really good, would highly recommend it. Also, upcoming minor spoilers, skip ahead about like 20 seconds. Damn, bro, Char got buff! Once we finish up this hand here, we will be done with this arm. With the left arm done, we're actually going to be putting both of the arms and the head onto the body here. With this, we're about halfway through the model. After this, we're going to be putting together the waist and the legs, along with the weapons. Now, to start with that right leg. After having watched Gundam Zeta and really enjoying it, I then moved on to what's the third series released, Gundam ZZ, and my god, look how they've massacred my boy. As of the recording of this video, I'm about 15 episodes into Gundam ZZ, and it's something. It's something, alright. I have heard that it does get somewhat better after episode 21, but my god, it's been pretty painful at times with this particular series. But I will get through it. Don't know how, but I will persevere. I'm watching it in order to get a bit more context for the movie Char's Counterattack, which I'm really excited to watch. I've heard some pretty good things about that movie. Getting back to ZZ, however, it is just, I don't know, it's just too goofy. I mean, in comparison to Gundam Zeta, it is night and day. Zeta was a very dark and mature show that did have its moments of humor. You know, you can have your little moments of humor, but this show is just all goofiness. It makes everyone feel incompetent, and the characters are just really annoying. It does have some genuinely funny moments, but again, coming after Zeta, it's just, it kind of feels like a slap in the face to Zeta. I better see a steep improvement in the quality of it after episode 21. Because if it's like this for the whole series, then it's going to be a very long and difficult watch for me. I'm actually kind of surprised that Tomino directed this, considering his reputation in the anime industry. It's just very not like him, it feels. And there is the right leg complete. With that, we can move on to the left, which is again basically just going to be the same thing. Out of all the models I've done so far, Char's Red Comet has probably been my favorite. I've said before in my top 5 out of print manga I want pre-printed that I was originally going to film myself putting that model together and post it on YouTube, but I ended up abandoning it, and it's probably for the best because that build ended up taking me well over 3 hours. And I couldn't imagine editing that down to the video if I'm struggling with this hour and a half or so of footage that I am now. There's some other models that I'm looking at right now that I definitely want to do, such as this Zeong model and this Gan. And there's some mechs from the series that I want to do models, just currently aren't being made apparently, such as the Elmith I really want to do, and Big Zam, which I want to do the most, but unfortunately, the only Big Zam models out there are the old-fashioned ones that you still have to glue together. It really bums me out that they don't have a Big Zam out right now. But I'm holding out hope that maybe for the 50th anniversary of Mobile Suit Gundam, which will be in 2029, they might do a line of mech kits from the original series, so maybe I'll get to do some of those then. But for now, the only way that I could possibly be connected to my dear, beloved Big Zam will be buying one of the old model kits and putting that together. But I don't know, I'll doubt that I'll end up doing that. I've been getting these kits from Hobby Lobby, but that's just because it's my closest store. They don't have very many model kits left for me to do there. The original model kit that I started with, the real basic Gundam, I actually got it at Barnes & Noble. But since then, I haven't seen any other ones there that I could do. There's also Hobby Town, which sort of advertises itself as the Gunpla place, at least in my area. But the last time I was there, they didn't actually have very much in stock at the moment, which is a bit of a bummer. We're coming up upon the completion of the leg here, and we're almost done with this model kit. With the left leg complete, we can finally move on to the final major piece of this project, which is going to be the waist. This whole video has been very off the cuff, so, don't really see this as a review of any of the Gundam anime series and such like that. This is just my personal thoughts that are unorganized and are just me putting something out there, and really me just trying to add something to this sped up footage of this model kit. The last thing that I think I'm really going to mention in this video is the Gundam novel. I mentioned it earlier when I talked about how it represents a more accurate story to what the creator of the series wanted to tell with the original Mobile Suit Gundam. I've only really read up to the second book so far, and again, it's pretty good. Definitely a more mature story, and it's different enough from the original anime that even if you've seen it, you still probably going to want to check this out to see what it has to offer. Alright, so we come to this piece here. Now, as you're going to see, I had a bit of trouble putting this piece in, and that's because I had to shave off a bit of that nib a little more, which I ended up having to do with a knife blade. That's why that bottle cap is there, if you're wondering. Had to do the same thing with the other side as well, but I got it done. There you can see me shaving it with a knife blade. Getting back to my discussion of the novel, I also want to mention the fact that the novel adds some concepts that we see used later on in things like Gundam Zeta, Gundam ZZ. The novel adds concepts like skin talking and also adds the Rick Diaz mobile suit. With these final side pieces being put into place, we have finished the waist. Alright, so the body of the entire Gunpla is completed and we're finally going to put it together. This was a pretty fun and fairly easy build. I did have some difficulties at some points with tiny stickers and some parts that have difficulty snapping in place, but overall it's a pretty great model. It's going to look very good next to my Red Comet. Now, if you're a very serious Gunpla model enthusiast, you would probably go and add paint and stuff like that. But like I said, I've just gotten into it, and generally I find that I'm not very talented when it comes to doing things like paints and all that. I actually tried to get into general model kit building when I was much younger, and painting always ruined the models for me. I did a couple of ships and an airplane or so, but they all just ended up turning out terrible after I painted them. I might get into doing more advanced stuff with the Gunpla models one day, but for now I'm just going to leave it as is. With it all put together, I'm going to tidy it up a bit and think about some poses that I could put the model in when I put it on my shelf. And there it is, all put together and posed. Now, I actually didn't film me putting the weapons together because, well, unfortunately my camera died while I was doing that. But it was probably for the best because this model took a little over an hour and a half to do, and with all the footage in the editing software, it is just completely destroyed it. But with that, we have completed the model, and this is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you on my channel again real soon. Goodbye.